and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
How are you doing?
Good. Oh my god, I forgot to make my tea.
Oh my god,
we can give you
don't
time
worry.
if you want. Yeah, make and talk.
Welcome to Mug Time with Kate, Emily, and Sophie. We're all so
ASMR.
excited for our ASMR time together.
I've been wanting to have you on for a while.
Yes.
I do want to say to the people watching, we tried to do it yesterday, but we had a power back
Nightmare.
on. So
I have my mug.
excellent.
This is a handmade mug.
Wait, your sister made it?
No, my pottery teacher made it.
Oh,
For-
I want to
for
go
you
to some
guys.
sort of like pottery class or
Oh my gosh, even the
paint
bottom.
a pot.
Yeah, no. So my pottery teacher
Wow.
strongly believes that when you're doing dishes and you have to like flip it over and look at the bottom, you should always have something pretty to look at.
Okay, so basically, let's get into it. So we met at Camp Burston Hayward, like all of our
Obviously.
other guests, and I think you're such a good person to have on because I remember in 2015 we were all in the same unit. Like my first ever summer at camp, 2015, we're at Pathfinders, which is like the group of girls
Yes,
that were
we
all.
were co's.
Kate and Sophie were actually close, which means that they were in a cabin together. But I remember just talking to you and you being so open about mental health from the get-go. And
Yeah.
at that time in my life, that made me a little uncomfortable because I'd never experienced that before. I'd never experienced someone being like, this is how I handle my anxiety. I'm feeling a bit anxious. I was always anxious. I struggle with
Yeah, you
anxiety a
feel
lot.
those feelings.
However,
Yeah.
I'd never been vocal about it. So you were
Oh.
honestly one of the first people that made me feel comfortable about talking about my anxiety.
you.
So
I'm
thank
so
you
glad
very
that
much.
I've heard a lot of stories about that, like even
Yeah.
from a lot of different people. Super
Yeah.
important to me.
Let's talk about your journey this year. You know, everyone has had a hard time during lockdown.
Yeah.
You guys had a harder time because you had a
Mhm.
little bit of a health journey that you went.
Hiccup. Yeah, I wouldn't even say it was harder. Let's start from this. In 2014, when I first started camp, I went through a really weird phase where I lost 10 pounds over the 10-week period of camp. And for me, I'm thinking, oh, that's really weird. A lot of people are like, oh, it's great. And I'm like, no, this is weird because I don't lose weight that fast, that quickly, eating camp food, being as active as I was. So I was like, this is strange. And so actually from June to December, I actually ended up losing 20 pounds without doing anything. And that to me was super weird. So I went to the doctor, I got tested for my TSH levels, which is the levels in which your thyroid kind of regulates your body. And they're like, oh, it's a little wacky. We're going to send you to an endocrinologist, which is like a thyroid specialist. And they found a nodule. So I'm lucky enough that my dad and my grandfather had an endocrinologist. So I was able to go to him. So everything was all set. And over the last few years, we've just been watching this little nodule in my neck grow. This year in June, they said it's 10 millimeters. We're going to do a biopsy. Biopsy came back with stage 1 papillary cancer. It's a very scary word. I freaked out for maybe 2 seconds because my dad and my grandfather both had stage 4 papillary cancer, and I knew the journey that I was about to go on. The only thing I was like concerned about was, is my family okay? Should I get my siblings in there? What is this going to be with COVID going on? Honestly, everything went so smoothly. I got my thyroid out. I have my second smile is what I call it. And it was wild, but I just keep reminding people like I went through a really weird situation where the words that were being used were extremely scary and extremely like harsh. Like a lot of times when you hear cancer, you think of chemo, radiation, like you're going to lose your hair. You're in for the fight of your life. I was so fortunate that I knew that I was going to get my thyroid out. I was going to go on pills and I was going to get an iodine treatment and a PET scan with luck, and luck was all set. I'm good. I do a blood test every 6 weeks. I won't have to do that for the rest of my life, just for the first year. My whole thesis on this is like, I'm very lucky and I want everyone to know that. Check your neck, people. Check
Oh my
your
god, your
neck.
microphone!
She's ready for this.
Wait, that's
Yeah,
cool.
I use this for work.
We're so glad that you're okay. It's so awful that does run in your family, and a lot of people in your family have experienced it. But like you said, it kind of gave you that insight of maybe a little bits to expect. And that is so valuable. Like I think I have certain types of cancers that run in my family. It's made me hyper aware. And like the more that you can look out for warning signs or when something doesn't feel right.
I mean, it's as you said, like you freaked out for a little minute. Like,
Yeah.
so you get told that it's cancer. Are you vocal about it with your friends group immediately?
I let it sit for a couple of days because I felt really anxious about telling them because like I said, I felt, if anything, I felt lucky that I caught it. I didn't feel like I needed sympathy. I mean, support is always welcome, but I didn't feel like I was looking for it. If anything, I just wanted to let my friends know that the next time they see me, I'm going to have a scar. It would be super weird for me to just show up and be like, oh yeah, I had surgery. I was like, okay, so I have to tell my friends this really weird piece of news that I'm okay with. I'm going to be fine and everything's going to be great. It's just, I have to go get surgery. I kind of just preface all of my conversations, even going now, if people are like, what happened? I'm like, oh yeah, I had surgery. By the way, like, do you have any history in your family? Do you know of? And then a lot of people will be like, oh, like, yeah, my mom was like my age when she caught it. And I'm like, wow, but you look at that. Like, maybe you should think about, like, the next time you're at the doctor's, like, check yourself out, you know? And I just kind of framed it like that. And instead of spending the summer, like, freaking out and panicking and letting myself really let that consume me, I just kind of let it be. And that to me was like a huge part of my mental health journey. I thought that I was going to be having panic attacks every day and freaking out, but I just kind of was able to spin my narrative and make it a bit more positive. And that is extremely hard to do. I've been struggling with mental health since maybe my sophomore year of high school. So I knew like this could take something off my psyche. Like I worked so hard to get to the place where I am, but I just kind of decided it wasn't going to be something that I was going to let get to me, which is extremely difficult for anybody if you're dealing with mental health now or ever in the future. Just deciding to let something not get to you or just having someone tell you that may not be the best thing. That was just what I was going to do for myself. The other thing I did was sit my butt in a chair and I knit. So I have knit maybe about 15 different projects in this last year just because I didn't know what else to do, and it helped me with panic. It helped me with just not getting into a place where I didn't feel productive anymore. There are many days that I'll just walk into any job that I have and they're like, how are you? I'm like, I'm a little anxious today, but we're just going to push through it. And they're like, oh, are you okay? Do you need it? I'm like, no, but I may just take 5 minutes and like knit for 5 minutes. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure.
That's such a good thing. So I feel like if someone asks you, how are you? Like, good is the immediate reflex, but like, don't say that if you don't mean it. And if you need something, ask for it.
And most of the time people are so freaked out. They're just like, I know. It's kind of like, I'm sure you've walked into work feeling like this too. So
in my head, I'm freaking out today. I am freaking out, but today I'm going to just take 10 minutes. But also I feel like you're so authentically yourself. Like knitting, you know, we're quite young and knitting is a hobby that not many people get into. Like it's so crafty, but you're like, I'm gonna knit because I like knitting. All right,
absolutely. So like my sister does the same. I think it's the coolest skill to have.
You're a knitting machine.
Because I used to do ceramics in high school, and that was something that I kind of used as like a tactile thing to kind of get my head out of itself and escape. Freshman year of college was probably one of my worst years in terms of my mental health. I was having like 2, 3, sometimes 4 panic attacks a week. And it was debilitating. It wasn't letting me, I was just moved to New York. It wasn't letting me live life to the fullest. And that's where I said, I need to stop because my brain shouldn't be the thing that's holding me back from pursuing the dream of living in New York in a way that I can deal with. So that was the year that I was like started being a lot more candid with my mental health. I was on medication and that's been my savior. Not really, but like it's been great. I am a better person right now for it. Maybe in the future I'll come off of it, but right now it's what's helping me. I was in therapy and I after a while decided to stop because it wasn't really anything I felt like I needed anymore. And so when things started to kind of go south again sophomore year, like mental health wise, I decided that I needed a tactile thing to keep me busy and I didn't want to spend a lot of money. So I was like, I can't book time and buy clay and do all that. So I decided I was gonna knit. So I sat down on YouTube and I started knitting, and it kind of turned into a bit of an obsession.
That blanket on the back of your sofa,
I keep looking at it.
Massive. That is
beautiful.
Yeah.
Fucking huge.
This is probably like my 5th knitting.
It's just
like a cute little lap blanket.
It's unbelievable.
Warm hug. And you know what? Like a lot of people are like, how do you knit when you're anxious? Like if I looked at something and that I knit while I was anxious, like I would just think of the anxiety that I had. And I go, you know what? I say sometimes when you're anxious, it's because you don't feel like you can be, you feel like you can't be productive when you're anxious. Spin it around. Be productive while you're anxious. If you didn't get anything done that day because of your anxiety, at least you got something done. Something that you can say, I did this for myself.
And I think because you were able to actively say, you know, this is is not going to bother me. That like lends itself to your whole entire journey. Like you chose to address your mental health your sophomore year of high school.
Yeah.
So like you've been working on this for so long, and that's why it's so important to address your mental health as soon as you can. And now you've got these tools, so you can literally say, you know, I'm not going to panic about this. I'm done. For me, the mental health struggles that I've been on definitely like have gotten better, because sometimes I feel myself say, you know, not going to stress about this. I feel like I'm actively pushing it away, and I'm able to then continue. But that is because I've been surrounded by you guys and like everyone at camp talking about mental health as young adults, as teenagers, you know, and it's so important, because things come along like scary like this that could have been so debilitating to you.
We hear the quote all the time though, and it's like, you can't control what happens in life, but you can control how you react to it. And again, like you were saying, it's so much easier to adopt that, to say that, than to actually be able to. But like for you, from what it sounds like, it's like you turned something that could have been so life-changing and scary into almost more of a teaching tool. Like,
do acknowledge the fact that good for you, like that what you went through, that is scary to anyone.
So scary.
Like acknowledging that, like you literally went through a cancer journey and you beat it.
We're so happy that you're all right,
and you're so strong, like mentally and everything. Like honestly,
I don't know about you guys, but like holidays make me super anxious, because your family's like, it's the holidays. So I'm like, okay, pause, like we should be able to spend special time together.
And it's like, oh no, you can't do that because it's the holidays. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Or like when you're trying to do something on Christmas Day and everyone's like, why are you doing that? It's Christmas. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Because I'm living my life.
I want my room to on Christmas, so I'm about to clean my room, right?
Do you have any other like kind of go-to things? Like obviously knitting is the major, but what other things are like your saviors when you're having
so I do struggle with some sleep anxiety. It has been a lot better when I was young, when I was like in college and like living alone for real. That was something that was really tough on me. I tried meditating, and I know that meditating for a lot of people is great. So meditation for me works for about 5 minutes. And I've gotten into this app that you probably have heard of, is called Calm. And it tells like little sleep stories, like, and I listen to like the stupidest ones, like about like the 3 Little Pigs or something. So that's been really great. So I do listen to like those like story apps. Like a lot of people like to fall asleep to television, but listening like with blue light and stuff, it's not always great. So I've been kind of turning to that for like auditory like help. I don't know about you guys, but with quarantine, social anxiety has been like way up here. You're just kind of like, hello, I just hung out with my friends and it was great. And then you're like, should you have really said that? Like, what was that weird noise that came out of your mouth? Prepping yourself to being social, especially now when you've been alone or with your family or with your boyfriend, people that you see every day and you really don't care about how you socialize with. And then you see a friend you haven't seen for a while and you're like, oh
hi.
He's a big boy.
He's a big boy. This has also been a really great coping mechanism for living at home. And being by myself. I didn't know how much I needed this boy in my life. We really bonded when I was in high school, and like my anxiety was just starting out. Like I would be having a panic attack and he would come and like lay next to me. And like he kind of just turned into like my de facto like emotional support animal. And now he's just like my best friend. Let me let you in on a secret. I don't really like cats, but I love this cat. But other than that, I'm like, I'm never getting a cat again.
Well, Obsessed, thank you so much for your insight, Kate.
My pleasure. And if anyone ever feels like they want to chat about other experiences, I've got a lot under the belt and I'm very proud of every one of them. So
definitely
100%. I'm so glad that I think people do feel like they can reach out to you. You're so open and honest, and I'm so glad that you're able to talk to us.
Definitely.
Happy to do it. If anyone also wants to learn how to knit, call me.
So at the end of our episodes, we cheers to something. Do you have something that you'd like to cheers to?
Cheers, you know what, to every moment, because every moment is fleeting, and in a day like today, you just kind of have to take every moment for what it's worth.
Amen. That is so true. Cheers to every
Cheers.